Hello and welcome to the Peak Endurance podcast. Today we have on a special guest, Ben Hirst, who has just done a double Everest. Welcome, Ben.
Welcome, thank you.
No worries. And of course, I forgot Ron, forgot the sidekick here.
That's all right.
I always forget. That's okay.
That's why I wear bright colours, so she doesn't miss me.
So, Ben, a double Everest. Wow. But first of all, talk to us. How did you get into running and how long have you been running?
So I've been running since probably, I don't know, since I was sort of in my late 20s. So probably only really sort of the eight odd years. Honestly, my introduction to running really was starting, my older brother got into those 10K, 5K fun runs. And being competitive, I'm one of four boys, so we're a really competitive family. So I really got into the fun runs to try and beat him. Honestly, nothing to do with enjoying the running on it. I just wanted. I remember there was a fun run. It's called the Bridge Run in Hobart, and I knew he'd signed up, and I signed up, not telling him, and hoping to get to basically to run through and be at the finish line and just sort of stand there and look at him and gloat.
Well done.
And what ended up happening was I forgot my shorts and ran in trackies, and he did the same to me. So since then I've that competitive streak's gone through, but I really, that's kind of, I guess, where it started. But the ultra marathon sort of stuff, started a little bit later after that.
It's quite addictive, the old running, isn't it?
It is.
It is, yeah, it is. And I think there's a lot of benefits to that for people, where there is that sort of those confidence boosters, or the mental benefits, or the physical, I suppose.
No, 100%. Okay, so then you got into ultra running, and what sort of ultra runs have you done? Have you done like milers, 100Ks? What have you done?
Yeah, so my first ever one was the North Face 100, which was now Ultra Trail Australia. I basically signed up to it after hearing about it at the pub. I had no experience of trail running or ultra running.
Oh, okay.
All I heard was that if you finished under 20 hours, you got a shiny belt buckle. And that's all I heard at the pub. So I was just like, I didn't realize that anyone ran further than a marathon, let alone in the bush. So, and me being really competitive, I thought, well, it can't be that hard, And so I signed up, went home at about 3 a.m. and signed up, and forgot about it, and got an email later because I was on the waiting list.
Yeah.
And almost had a heart attack. What have I done? And basically just tried to make. Sorry, no. So I got through it in the end, and I think I finished around 22 hours after that. But so at that stage, they didn't give you medals; you just got a certificate. So I remember coming back furious, like going. It wasn't about the achievement; it was about, I was like, I really wanted that buckle, and I know it's silly to think back on that now, but the certificate means a lot to me. But I went back the next year and got the belt buckle, but I think it was something that, I guess, gave me a little bit more motivation to rock up a second time. But I guess since then I've done milers, I've done I just try new tests of endurance. So just anything that's longer than 100 kilometers, really.
Yeah.
What's it like being in Tasmania? Are there many ultra runs in Tasmania? Because I can't say I've heard of a lot of them.
No, there really isn't. There's some pretty old school ones. Basically, there's some ones that have been around for a very long time. There's really only one that's over 100 kilometers, which is the Gone Nuts 100. Yep. And that's been going for about sort of 6 years now, and that was the first of its kind. We do have the iconic Cradle Mountain Ultra, which is roughly around sort of 80 odd Ks, but it does feel like more than 100 kilometers on that one.
Right.
But really just a lot of sort of shorter trail runs. There's definitely scope to do some of these bigger ultras, but and I think
I wonder why they haven't really.
I don't know. I think sometimes it becomes a bit difficult with councils and a bit red tape, and also there's a lot of heritage area as well. So
in Tasmania.
yeah, that's right. So, but there is some beautiful spots, and I think what they've been able to do with mountain biking and transforming some of these old mining towns,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of scope for the ultra world to go back into there. But there's some really good people that are creating these races now, and I think Tasmania in the next 5 to 10 years will have some really big races. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's exciting to watch.
Yeah.
And if they do put them on, like, people from other states need to support it, because that's what they need, is they need numbers, don't they?
Absolutely, and honestly, I think a lot of our runs, almost 50% are attended by people from other states anyway. I think people don't need an excuse to go and visit Tasmania. And what they do is they sort of build a trip around it anyway. So and with the Cradle Mountain Ultra, I think a lot of people are from different states, even in other countries, that come down to visit.
Cool. Yeah. Alrighty, so right, so you've done all these ultras, and then you decided to do an Everesting. Now, just in case there's someone who hasn't heard of Everesting, can you explain to the listeners what that is?
I mean, mine probably wasn't a traditional Everesting, but basically it's doing a run or climbing the height of Mount Everest. So the elevation, which is, I think it was 8848. I can't remember exactly. I think it was close to that. Oh, well, so I got it right. There you go.
You got it exactly right.
And so
I was about 700 meters up when I thought.
Well, apparently it keeps getting slightly higher each time. So, but I've over the years, I've been just doing sort of running challenges to raise awareness for mental health and raise funds to Speak Up, Stay Chatty. So this was kind of, I guess, the fourth installment to my running challenges, and I really wanted to do an elevation challenge. So that I didn't want to do it just an Everest. Because I know a few people have done that. I wanted to do a double Everest to get people to take notice. So yeah.
I thought you decided on the double Everest kind of halfway through. Was I wrong in that? Sorry.
No. So I was always doing a double Everest, but basically I decided things were going really well, so we decided to go to 20,000.
Okay,
so we did a little bit extra.
Yeah, because I was going to say, unless my maths is really bad.
My maths was really bad. That's why we ended up doing 20,000.
Yeah. Okay, that clarifies it. I understand now. So yes, basically 20,000 meters of climbing. That's a lot of climbing.
It was, and I've spent a lot of time on that mountain, and that it's from basically what we were doing was we were going from probably about 400 meters up. So there's a pub it's called the Fern Tree Tavern, and that's sort of the base of the mountain. Yep. And we were going straight up the trail from there to the top.
Sorry, and just to backtrack, which mountain are you talking about?
So Kunanyi, and people might know it as Mount Wellington. It's basically it's about 1,270 meters, and if you're anywhere around Hobart, you've got a view, you can see it. So it sort of towers over Hobart, and it's absolutely beautiful, and gets snow quite often through winter.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And which you got your fair share of?
I did, yeah. I mean, it's been a winter, like normally I wouldn't touch the mountain, like do a challenge like this during winter on that mountain, just because of the weather and how crazy you can get up on top. But we've had a historically warm winter. And it's so, you hear those.
We must be having the cold for you here in Melbourne.
Oh, must do. Like, people are sort of, I'm looking at going, it's only, it's up to 5 degrees on top, which is just unheard of, and normally it's, it's in the minuses, but then you've got the windshield factor, which can be up to 100 kilometers at a time. God. So it can be pretty crazy up there, but I got a couple of snow days, which I was really, really stoked about. And it just I think it just transforms the mountain, being running in snow and being able to share that with people that came up to support was even, I think even more perfect as well.
Right. Well, so you just mentioned people supporting you. Did you have people running with you, or were there mainly just people standing around supporting, or how did that work?
Yeah, so normally with these challenges that I do, the Run for Mental Health challenges, is that I try and get the community involved, because it's really, I don't want to make it about me or like a solo run. So I want to be able to have people to support and have that, continue those conversations around mental health and just, doing it in their own way. But logistically, climbing a mountain, does rule out a few people. But what I did was we tried to do 3 summits a day. And we spaced them out over sort of the daylight hours, which was about sort of 9 to 10 hours, and which allowed us enough time to actually incorporate, have people participate and just hike it up. And so we weren't really, it wasn't a constant grind and, I'm constantly moving. I wanted to actually show people the mountain and how beautiful it is. And a lot of people, we had obviously seasonal trail runners that came up, had been on there all the time, but we had people that had never, they might have driven up the mountain, but they'd never actually walked up the other side and saw the view. And I think they were just blown away by how amazing it is. And I think they will probably park a little bit lower and actually hike up the next time. I actually had a mate who had never been up there before, and he basically messaged me this weekend and said he was up there again, and now he's like, so what? I want to get a trail running pack like you, So it's really, it doesn't, like, I just think being able to showcase in the mountain and for people that don't feel as confident heading up by themselves, I think it's quite special being able to be able to share that with them.
So when did you start this challenge?
So I started on the Wednesday, the 12th of July, and went straight through to the following Wednesday.
And so I from what I can understand from what you said, you stopped for the nights?
Stopped for the night. So I started my first ascent at 7 a.m. each morning, just as it was first light. And then, pretty much finished around sort of 5 o'clock each night, really. So started in the dark and finished in the dark. So
Doing 3, you said 3 peaks a day?
Yeah, 3 peaks a day. Yeah.
What's that in distance wise?
Well, I started going up the road a little bit to the springs, and that was a 15K round trip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then when we incorporated the trail instead, it was only 10Ks. So it was 5K up, 5K down. So it saved us a bit of time, and also was a bit more safe for participants to come up, because during school holidays, there's people, especially when there's snow, there's a convoy of cars going up. So I wanted to be able to allow for people to want to participate and feel safe at the same time. So I think it made a big difference cutting out the road section, because it allowed for a bit more time for people to head up as well. So, yeah.
And how much climbing was in each ascent? If you started at that pub, how much climbing was in each ascent?
Yeah, so it was roughly around sort of 850 meters each climb, within the 5, just under 5K. So, and there's a mixture of sort of muddy sort of trails, and then right at the top you've got pretty much just rocks all the way. So, and they've done some amazing work on the sort of the top parts of the trail, and they've more made it into sort of stairs now, which makes it a lot more accessible for people. It's a bit harder on the downhill, on your knees, but when it's really icy up there, it makes it a little bit easier to get down. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's a bit more grippy, is it?
It is, yeah. Because before, you often get a lot of ice up the top. It freezes overnight, and you're having to contend with rocks that don't that you're not really sure are moving or not. So it's a bit dicey. It can get a bit dicey up there, and unless you know the trail a lot, you don't. Like I watched a fair few families going up that really weren't. You get a lot of people that basically don't have the right gear, and Dunlop volleys and all sorts of things that have no grip, and they're holding on for dear life, you know. So like it's an accessible mountain, but people do really get caught out in the conditions up there because it can really turn quite quickly, and they don't expect I guess they don't expect a mountain like that to be the weather conditions to be so varied, so close to Hobart.
Yeah. So when you say you hiked up, what about coming down? Did you run down or did you hike down? Because obviously you're with people of varying strengths and fitness levels. So what did you do on the way down?
I was quite conscious. I wanted to keep everyone together. I like the idea of it being more a group run. So yeah, when we had, depending on who we had, I was sort of checking to see sort of, you know, what types of runners we had, and if we had any experienced people, we would just keep moving as a group, and then we'd sort of stop at points just to let people catch up. But we never left anyone up there. Like you know, when I did some solo,
that's it. We're going.
Yeah, see you later. But because people are already pretty worried about slowing me down, and I had to reinforce that that's not the whole point of the run. Like I'm more than happy to have you here, and you're going out of your comfort zone to support me in this run. So I'm not going to leave you behind, and we're going to take the time and enjoy this. And I think that's what really made this less of a, I don't know, like some of the challenges that I've done before, I've really driven myself into the ground, but this one seemed very different in terms of participation, but also being more, I think, having those breaks and enjoying our surroundings, I think. So yeah.
Well, I have to say that, you know, following you on Instagram, all the photos, everyone looked happy and smiling, and it didn't look like some sort of suffer fest. It looked like lots of fun, and I was really jealous.
I there was a lot of learnings from my last one that I did.
What did you do?
So in 2019, I basically spent a week running around a 350-meter oval, school oval.
Oh, that's fun.
I basically parked a caravan in the corner and lived up there for the week. And yeah, I did a lap per male suicide recorded that year, so 2,348. I'll never forget that number. And that equated to almost pretty much 800 Ks of running in a week.
I ran an oval.
Running around the same oval. And I think for me in that scenario is not going home to my family was absolutely a terrible idea. Basically, I'd start from 7 or 8 in the morning, and I'd go right until midnight almost, because I was having conversations with people and stopping, and everyone went home to their families, and then I pretty much went and stayed in a caravan by myself, alone with my thoughts, and
oh my God,
having to think about backing it up another day, 15 or 16 hours running around the same oval. And honestly, it really put my own mental health at risk during that time. And, you know, you can give so much of yourself for these challenges. You don't think about safeguarding yourself. And so that was a big learning for me. But it was a long recovery process for that.
Like that because you thought it would be easier logistically.
Because I in my own head, I'm like, I have to make everything. For me to be on that oval. I mean, if I leave the oval, that I didn't see that as one run. And in my head, it was like I needed to make that. Yeah. And so a lot of these things that I've done I in the past I've thought I have to make almost every part of this challenge really difficult to make it a challenge. But that it doesn't make any less effect in, you know, for awareness and you know, there's conversations. It's just in my own head, I feel like I have to make this a bigger challenge, and that's a detriment to my own health. So, and I've got, you know, I've got a family that I've got to look after and be home to, so I can't, like, you know, for this next one, even though it was a big challenge, there was lots of different things we did to make sure that when I got home, you know, when I finished, I was still in reasonably, you weren't totally ruined. A reasonable state. Exactly. Yeah.
And so, so you do have a family. How many kids do you have?
I've got two girls,
Yeah.
Poppy and Harriet, aged 5 and 7. So yeah, it's
lovely.
great. It's a great time, you know,
Yeah,
it's, primary school, and yeah,
yes.
it's awesome.
Did they spend any time out at least waiting for you to come back down off the mountain?
Actually, this one they didn't. So I think we just, yeah, it was, life's getting pretty full. so I, you know, for this one I really tried to do a lot of it. I was also doing like the social media sort of stuff while I was hiking it up the mountain, and just trying to yeah, take, because it, you know, a lot of the impact ends up going on my wife Jess, and you know, she's having to look after the kids. And so I'm, you know, conscious that, you know, taking a week off to do some of these things can put make a huge burden on the family. So yeah, it is what it is, but it's you know, they've always been super supportive of me over the years, and you know, especially when we get home and that sort of thing. So yeah.
And
So,
what are some of the other challenges that you've done?
So prior to the Oval Challenge, I put a treadmill out in the middle of Hobart, and ran for 48 hours on a treadmill, and just pretty much just put it on the footpath, and had people walk past. And the idea was really for them to go, what are you doing? You know, and that's that sort of platform to go, well, this is what I'm doing it for. And, you know, in the hope that people go home to their families and go, look, I saw this madman on a treadmill for 48 hours, and this is what he's doing. And then that sort of that's that kind of sparks that conversation around, you know, the why and mental health. And it's not just, I like the idea of doing these running challenges because it's, yes, it's another way of raising awareness rather than just talking all about mental health, which I feel like in this day and age is a lot of that, and it not always reaches the right people. And I feel like doing it in a way of this sparks people's interests, but also if you're doing something pretty crazy enough for people that can't really comprehend that, they're going to want to talk about
Yeah.
it. So that's my idea of doing these things. And yeah, so the treadmill one was really effective, and I've never really set foot on a treadmill prior to that, but it was more just trying to stay on there. Really, that was the hardest part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the first one I really did was, I'm not sure if you know much about Hobart, but I basically ran from the top to the bottom, Burnie to Hobart, along the highway there, and that was the start of these runs. So yeah.
and can I ask, why is this particular cause so dear to you?
Yeah, so so many years ago, I started work as a chef, and very demanding sort of industry.
Yeah.
And you know, working nights and weekends, and you feel really isolated because your friend, you're kind of serving your friends at night, and they're going out to party and you're having to work. And so there's a lot of things that end up, you know, really impacting your mental health. And also, you know, doing a trade, it's very sort of, I guess, the culture really, you know, can be, yeah, I guess back then, you know, mental health really wasn't spoken about that well. Not many people really knew much about it either, and there was that perception that it was, you know, quite weak to really sort of talk about your feelings as well. You know, and for me, that really took a toll, and you know, I had really poor sort of, you know, mental health and depression and anxiety from that. And yeah, there was a particular moment where, you know, I was at my lowest, and you know, sort of seeing, basically, the Speak Up Stay Chatty have these, you see this logo here, they have, basically what happened was, Mitch, the founder, he lost his brother to suicide, and what he did was he created this logo and printed about 1,000 stickers, just as more as an awareness, but a remembrance of his life. And people were putting these on the back of the cars around that time. And yeah, there's a particular moment that I was really at my lowest, and, you know, was about to make a decision that I'd regret. And I saw that sticker at that particular time, and that I knew what that signified, and that was enough to basically, you know, reconsider And from then on, I decided that I wanted to be able to. I was getting into the running around that time as well, so it all started as a fundraiser, and then went into more. I guess I created that Run for Mental Health platform, and that was a way for me to actually start to share my journey through what I was going through, but in a way that it was more through the running as well. So it was kind of, it was at that time, I didn't really know if anyone was listening, or, I was putting things out there online, and, sometimes you can think that, you can always think the worst of what people may comment on there. But then I've had people years later go, that post that you said you did 3 or 4 years ago, this is how it impacted me, and this is what I'm doing now because of it. And so in the mental health space, you quite often don't seem to see the outcome of your work straight away.
Yeah.
But it is when people do feel like they're in a space to share or have the courage, they'll come up to you and they go, look, that run that you did on the oval, that, like, I'm wanting to go and create my own run or do my own thing now because of that. Or, I was at a really bad space during that time, and some of those conversations and the things that, you did have really created that space to help me get out of where I'm at. So it really does flow on, and I continue to put things out, to pretty honestly share my story and my journey, online. Really hoping that most people that comment, they're the people that don't comment are the ones that are listening, and they're the ones that I want to reach. So it's been an amazing sort of story because I'm now working in suicide prevention as well. So I've kind of gone sort of 360 really, and it's just been really rewarding work.
So do you work for that organization now?
I work basically, a lot of people think that I do. I'm an official. I've been an ambassador for since 2016, but I actually work in the building with them now. So I'm Relationships Tasmania, back sort of Speak Up, Stay Chatty, and I'm an employee of Relationships Tasmania, but I work in their suicide prevention team. So we work really closely alongside them, and we do feel part of the same team anyway. So I really feel like I've been really lucky they've welcomed me in as part of their team anyway, and I've been lucky enough to do a lot of activities with them as well. So it's been great to actually watch them in the office and see how they work, and you kind of see the other side of, okay, well, we've been able to raise some money for them. You actually see that where it goes, and how important that is for some of their programs.
Well, where does it go?
So I mean, Speak Up, Stay Chatty has 3 main programs. They do they work in schools, and they work in workplaces, and have a sports program. And they do they're really good in terms of, they do that sort of basic awareness around mental health and what it is, and the signs and all those. I think that's a really interesting thing, because you might go to a sporting club, and you might do your presentation, and you'll have a football team sort of looking in the background, and someone will look at something, go and have that moment and go, oh, actually that's what that is, how I'm feeling. But they didn't realize, they just sort of thought that's just how, they've just been pushing through, and they realize, oh, that's actually that, so they've got an answer to it, and now they've a basic awareness, and now that they can go and actually address that, and go to their GP, or have those pathways to go and get help. But it's also just a stigma breaking thing as well, being able to know that your club's around it, and you're openly talking about it, I think has been really good. And but it really goes to Speak Up, Stay Chatty to continue their presentations and awareness through schools, and sporting clubs and workplaces. So, and they've been around everywhere in Tasmania. So
Excellent. I was wondering how you got the time off work, but obviously it worked in well with them for you to take off time, because you're supporting them anyway.
Well, I did take annual leave to to do it, but I think they actually, I'll have to address this with them, but I think they actually, I think they actually only gave me the half the annual leave. So I think they did help me out there. So
Oh, okay.
Nice.
yeah.
That won't
So
say anything.
Yeah.
no, they did no. So but yeah, I've done this for years. I always take time off to do these things because I think it's really important. Whether the workplace does, gives that to me or not, I'm still going to do it, and because it means a lot to me to be able to do these challenges, because I just know the impact of everyone that's following along, and it's not just in Tasmania either. It goes over to other states, and and that's really good exposure too.
Yeah. Now back to the actual challenge itself. When you'd be out there all day, what did you do to ensure you optimize recovery before the next day?
I mean, so with recovery, I'm pretty, pretty blasé about it, to be honest. I don't, like normal runners. I don't stretch. I don't do any of that. But I did get I think one of the big things that really helped me was I got one of those. I borrowed a pair of those compression boots.
Oh, yep.
And just sat in them for about 2 or 3 hours of a night, and that made a huge difference. I was quite sore in the initial few days, and then really it actually I got to the point where I felt like I was actually getting better as the days went on. I got a little bit of sciatica towards the back end, like right at the last day. I think that's just because I don't stretch, and my hips started to lock up. But I honestly, I could probably have gone further, just the way that we were really doing it. But during this challenge, I really like to build in some treats for myself to look forward to, where I hadn't done that in the past. And so that was, I mean, I'm finishing at a pub, so why am I not going and having a pint after I finish? Stuff like that. So that's what we did. Some of the people that ran with me in the last one, we would go down and would have a meal at the pub, and that was really nice. It wasn't just like, because you've got to be able to, you're doing this, for 8 or 9 hours a day. And, you got to have something that, the other thing for me was and it's well known through my other challenges that, McDonald's. So people would bring me thick shakes and cheeseburgers.
We're big on the bacon muffins on the runs.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like too many cheeseburgers is too. There's a point where there is, if I put it out there, some of the key to get those calories in, because it really is. Yeah, if you can't eat anymore, I think I found with the vanilla thick shakes is it's packed full of calories, but it's easy to get down and it's nice and cold. And so that was something that really worked for me. That obviously people can't, for dairy wise, that doesn't work for a lot of people. But for me, I've been training my gut to have these sort of things. So it's, I think you got to have whatever at the time, whatever you can get in, really. So
and absolutely, that's
calories,
chock full of calories. And that's what you need.
Absolutely. But for me, recovery is really just like, I think it was just really good to hang out with my, go home and hang out with my family. And as I mentioned, I really hadn't done that in the past challenges. I've just gone, stayed, and that's really had a really big detriment to my recovery and my mental health as well. So being able to actually sit at home and in my own environment, sleep in my own bed and all that sort of stuff really meant that I could try and get a reasonable sleep, and wake up the next morning. But I felt like with the sleep thing, I actually didn't sleep that well because I was too worried about waking up from my alarm each morning, because I know that there was people waiting for me at 7, and I'm shocking at getting up early in the morning these days. So that I think I had a bit of anxiety. I was sort of waking up every hour of the morning, waiting for the alarm to go off. So yeah.
And so how many kilometers did you do in total?
It was close, a bit over 300 really in the end. So it was probably a lot less than I anticipated. But that was because we ended up taking out the road section.
Yeah.
But in the end, really, it wasn't I think it was a good move, and it wasn't really a distance challenge anyway. And it was more important to actually have people to join us. And we had some amazing summits, and people would stop and take photos because they were just, some of the sunrises and the snow were just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
And did you get a lot of attention from, I guess people at the summit not knowing what you're doing and thinking you're a little bit crazy?
Yeah, you always do, because it is jam packed full of tourists mainly. And they come up the other. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the mountain, but they come up the other side in the cars, and you almost stumble out from the middle of nowhere running up there, and it's blowing a gate. It could be, average wind speeds was about sort of 60 odd Ks, and then you can have gusts up to 40% of that. So up to 80, 90 plus up the mountain. And so you come out running, and they're just, they can barely see, and they're struggling to put their poncho on and that sort of thing. But you do get some, I think if you run up the road, which I've done a fair bit, and cars drive past you, they just go, they're amazed by it. And if you've ever heard of the Point to Pinnacle, which is the race from the casino to the top, I think that's why I chose the mountain, because I think a lot of people know, they've been up there and they know how difficult it can be, and they've got their own experience on that. So, but I do love to. There was one where I actually brought up a cheeseburger to the top and ate it right on the summit. So I think they thought that was a bit crazy, but yeah.
That sounds good. Good. And so you finished on Wednesday, and we're currently recording this the following Monday. Have you run since then?
Well, actually, I'm a hockey player, field hockey player. So I actually rocked up and played a hockey game on Saturday. So
nice.
I didn't think I'd be feeling this good, and especially because I really didn't do a lot of running in the lead up either, because I was injured from hockey. So, I ended up playing, feeling reasonably good after running through that. So, and hockey's just sort of sport that is just so different. And I've been really struggling to have the two in my life, and because hockey's really side to side, short, sharp sort of movements, and I always blow up my abductors, those sort of inside muscles, because they just don't get worked in the running. And so
you're also running bending a lot too, which is
you're constantly in a squat. You're constantly in a squat position. So it does become it's really difficult. You almost have to train. What I've found out, you've really got to train the hockey first and really prepare your body for the hockey, and then that really takes care of itself for the running side of things anyway. But I've been doing it for so long that I think my body's just getting really tired of it now. But I love the community, and that's why I keep coming back, because of the community, and having catching up with the guys after the game is what keeps me coming back. And I think that's just like the running community as well, the trail running community. People are there. The run's a bonus, but it's also being part of that community, I think, what keeps people going for years to come.
And with your training for this, did you do many of repeats up the hill anyway?
A lot of my training really is repeats, and Hobart is pretty well known for, there's lots of hills everywhere, so you don't have to go very far. A lot of I was really into the backyard ultras for quite a while, so a lot of my training for backyard ultras were I do hill repeats, and a lot of repeats just to build in that sort of monotony and just train the brain, and I found that worked really well. So no different, and I think what was a bit better was though, Kunanyi in the mountain actually every hour that it changes in terms of the landscape and the weather. So you could do what I could do one in the morning and be at the top, and it could be nice and sunny and perfect, and then the next one you go up, it's sleeting and it's super windy, and you could bet it's not nice at all. So, but it changes it up, and that's not knowing what to expect is really really nice, and I think the snow, just having snow up there just transforms it into a different landscape too.
Yeah.
And did you choose to do it in winter for that reason, or for any particular reason, or it's just happened to come up this time?
Yeah, I usually don't do my challenges in winter. This is the first time I've done it in winter. It's usually earlier in sort of February and late summer, where the weather's really quite nice. I chose to do it this time because the date that I finished on the Wednesday was the 10th anniversary of Speak Up Stay Chatty, the founding of Speak Up Stay Chatty. So there was a bit of significance there, and I felt like throughout the whole, I felt like I've been with Speak Up Stay Chatty since almost the very beginning and supporting them. So I didn't want to take anything away from those celebrations, but I just really felt like it was a nice time to end, to finish this run for me as well personally. I just, so, and what ended up happening was I did the last run in the morning, and then I got to go to their celebrations. So they had a few events later on in the evening. So I got to actually celebrate with the team, and it wasn't normally with these challenges, I'll finish and there'll be a lot of people at the end, and it's really awkward because you finish and you're really tired, and then everyone's sort of staring at you in a circle, and you're ready to go to bed.
Yeah.
And then media want to talk to you, and you just want to tell them I want to go to bed, and so this time around we finished. There was no one in the car, because we finished in a car park outside the pub. And there was no one there. I was just like, thank God, and so I pretty much just got changed and went to their event, and it was great to share in that, rather than it just being, I just don't like it being about me. And I know these challenges you have to do the media and all that sort of stuff, but I hate being kind of that center of attention where everyone's kind of looking at me. So because I'm naturally an introvert, even though a lot of people don't think that that's the case, but I don't like doing these sort of things. And the run at the end of the run, that's why I really don't look forward to the end of these runs, because there's that waiting for me. So this one was such a nice way to finish, and I really felt like we're celebrating as a team. So
no, that's excellent. And so how much have you raised?
So actually we currently raised $11,000 for this one, which is in a fundraising perspective and landscape, it's actually really really good. It's quite difficult to fundraise these days, and especially around this time there's always big major fundraising campaigns, and obviously cost of living is pretty ridiculous at the moment. So people giving it means it even more. So on the last day, I was probably about 3,100 away from the $10,000 amount that we were meant to raise from Speak Up Stay Chatty in Launceston. Basically wanted to donate to my total. It was the exact amount. It was like 3.2. So I went into the last day knowing that I'd already hit my target, and I know the fundraising is not the whole point of this thing, but it's to know that sort of everything's being ticked, and it's unbelievable. And I remember me and Mitch, the founder, I basically set up the first online fundraiser for Speak Up Stay Chatty. So we actually set it up back when I did my first one. So it's what they use now, and it's been it's an easy way for people to just set up do something and set up a fundraiser and have people donate. So it's been a long time coming, but it's nice to be able to still do these big runs and then sort of still raise a little bit of, a bit of money through as well. So yeah, I was really proud about that.
And so how can people donate? Is that what you mean? Sorry.
So on my Facebook or Instagram page, so Run for Mental Health, there's the link to the My Cause page there. I've been posting pretty regularly about it, and I'm auctioning off a signed GWS AFL Guernsey. So that's kind of my last big fundraiser. So I think they're kind of doing okay. I think they may do, but I think, people really support their AFL team, that, I might fetch a bit of money for it. So I'm hoping to.
A Richmond one would have been better.
Yeah. I don't have any contacts in Richmond.
Whereas for me, I don't do AFL. I have no clue.
I saw on your face pretty early on that you didn't support AFL, but I mean GWS I don't really support. So, it was really nice to be able to receive that. So, that will top it off, and I'll probably keep the fundraising page open for a couple of weeks, and until that's.
Well, I'll put your profile links in the show notes on.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Facebook and Insta. I know I've got the Insta one, so I might have to get the Facebook one off you. But I'll do that, and then people can donate if this has inspired you to help with the cause. That would be awesome if you could.
Yeah, and I always get, like, I'm always sort of open for people if people want to. I do get a lot of messages from people that want to do that. They want to support a cause and they want to do something like this, and so I'm always willing to to help people do their own thing, because I think it's quite valuable supporting a cause, but doing some sort of running challenge or anything. I think there's benefits to yourself, but also the awareness that it can you can inspire someone to do something. I think that flow-on effect is pretty amazing, and so more than happy for people just to message through my page if they're wanting to do something but don't know how to start. Because I think that it does get quite overwhelming with all the information out there these days.
Yeah. And so, what's your next challenge? Sorry,
my question.
To be honest, I'm going to go back to probably a bit of trail running next year, and maybe do one more backyard ultra as well. But in terms of the challenges, I just can't. I don't really know what my next one is. It just kind of, I'll be on a big run, and it will just halfway through. It might pop an idea might pop into my head, and I'll put it down in my phone, and then what I do is I'll test it out, and I'll go to some random people. I might go to a workmate or someone like that, and go, and see what they think about it. And if I get a big enough reaction, then I'll do it. So, but if they don't really give me a reaction, then I'll either make it harder or I just won't pursue it. So you have to have that sort of. It has to have that effect. Otherwise, there's no point. I want to do something that I don't know I'm going to actually finish. So that's the whole point of a challenge. Is I'm not going to run something that I know the outcome. I think putting yourself out there is part of it. It's putting yourself out there for ready for failure is important as well. So it just I think that I've done that in the past. I'm lucky to have finished all of them, but at what state I've been in certain ones is probably I'm glad that this one finished, and I was able to still celebrate with the team and still be able to actually help out at home and be there for my family. So it was a win-win all around for this one. But I think it's hard to actually come up with. I like to do different ones each time. So who knows? Who knows when that might be? But I'll let that happen when it does. Yeah.
No.
You good? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your awesome challenge with us. And congratulations. And Yeah.
It was a great effort. You know, anytime, you know, someone does that kind of challenge is good, but the fact that you did it for a wonderful cause as well is even better.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's always, I'm also always really appreciative for, you know, people like yourselves to give me the platform to be able to speak about this, because I think the run's one thing, but also it's the awareness as well, and being able to use it's those runs give me these types of platforms to be able to talk about these things. And so, you know, there's almost so much value in it. So I really, really appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All righty. Thanks again. And we'll maybe catch up with you after your next challenge.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks.